And there we go. We're live. Hey, everybody.
How's it going, everybody?
Lloyd is sick. Look at how sick he is. Don't you feel bad for him?
I'm really not centered. I need to move over a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Good morning, Vaxxer. Hello there, Lee Woods. Thank you for the super chat, Lee. Hello there, Grinoldi and Ray and Brett. Honey, hurry up with the coffee. Bill and Lloyd is coming on. Bill and Lloyd are coming on. Grammar's important. Hey there, Avery and Corey and Lucas and Adam. That's a weird way to spell Adam. Is that like... Adam, is that your actual name? Because that's a cool way to spell Adam. I've never seen that before. And I'm a teacher. I see a lot of weird ways to spell names. What's the weirdest name spelling you've ever seen, Lloyd?
One of my she's like a niece, but on like a further side of the removed family. So I don't know if she's like a niece, grandniece, or I don't know how that all that, like all the extended family naming is so weird. But her name is Callie, which you think would be spelled C-A-L-I, or something smaller, but it's like K-A-H-G-H-L-A-Y. Like it's like this 18-letter spelling for Callie, and it's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're just giving her a hard time. She's not gonna be able to fill out names on boxes when she fills out forms because her name's going to be too long. It's really, really strange.
When I was in the army, there was a girl who was in my platoon. This is back when I was stationed in Texas, and her last name had 20 letters in her last name. Her last name was, everybody just called her V, but I made it my personal goal to learn how to say her last name because I thought it was a cool last name, and her name was Voratinitkit-Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really, really cool last name, but we all just called her V.
It ended up cool.
But I need one of those buttons. I mean, I have buttons, but I don't have them set up for that.
You need more of a wah, 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 wah. And then
no. I like the rim shot.
Oh, that would work too.
Yeah.
Acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. Encephalomyelitis. There we go.
Rico says that Stadia needs Spotify while gaming. I think maybe YouTube Music is really more their speed, but I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. I don't understand people that do that. Like, I've never been one to be able to do that. Listen to music while gaming. Like PlayStation does it, Xbox does it, and I've tried it a few times, and it's just like I get too taken in with the music, and then I don't play the game the way I should.
Well, I mean, to me, it really depends on the game. If it's a game that has a lot of dialogue, then I can't do it. But if it's a game like an MMO, where I am just going around and completing quests and stuff, then yeah, putting music on in the background is great. Ray Sherrod, holy cow. Did you see that, Lloyd?
Oh my goodness. Oh my God.
$20 super chat. And I love the little, the super sticker, I mean. Look at the little dancing. Okay, is that a pear? I think it's a pear. Why do they have a pear? Like, I don't understand that.
That's weird. That is really weird.
Is it because is that like a dig at Apple or something? Oh, and look at that. He got supersonic. That's like a 2-for-1.
That's supersonic?
So if you look at the stream, you can see supersonic running across the bottom.
Right.
That doesn't happen every time. That has like a 2% chance to spawn a supersonic when you do a super chat. It'll put usually just Sonic across the thing, and now we got supersonic. So that's a 2-for-1. Thank you very much, Ray. I appreciate that. Hey there, Jerome and James. Yeah, JB's got a good point. Elder Scrolls Online and music do not go well together because there's so much talking in that game.
Here, I think. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I got a button now. I don't have to hit the thing behind me.
Oh, is that on your Go XLR?
Yeah.
Man, that's loud.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just a lot. It's a lot louder than you.
Okay, let's see if I can turn my sampler down.
That's better.
Got it. Yeah. There we go.
I was trying to time it so that it went off when I hit my my stupid little question block here.
Nice.
It didn't work.
I can't see you, so.
Yeah, I know. Every time that I do that, I get all the crackling in my audio.
I wonder what's causing that.
I don't know. It's been happening for years when I stream, and I have replaced every part of my computer now, except for my my old school like spinning plates hard drive. Everything. Well, I haven't replaced my power supply, but I can't imagine that would be it.
So when you're sending video and recording video, you're getting some sort of feedback loop. So what would cause that?
It's not a feedback loop. It's when I'm sending and recording video and doing something else, and if I start moving my mouse around, it starts to make a crackling sound, and I'm like, I can't figure out what it is.
See, to me, that would be a grounding issue on like the USB bus that is having some sort of interference. But you replace your logic port, so that's not it.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what would cause that.
It could be the case.
It could be the case. Probably not. I mean, it could be the power supply. I've seen weird interactions with a power supply.
I'm not buying a new power supply.
I wouldn't for that problem for sure. But I've seen weird issues with that. But I don't know. That is a weird one, dude.
Jonathan asks. I just gave up. He says, "Greetings from Belgium. Are you still planning to do interviews on Stadiacast?" Yeah. We. So you know what, Lloyd, if you remind me, we can talk about that in the at the shoot. What the heck is the segment called? In the crowd play.
Crowd play. Okay.
Okay. And I think it's 10 a.m. So we should probably start the show.
All right, let's do it.
We'll mute those things. All right, here we go. Maybe if I hit record. It's usually
that helps.
Usually a good idea. I've done that before. I did an entire interview once without recording it, and the guest was so awesome that they came back and did it again. And I felt like such a tool.
That is rough.
Welcome back, everyone, to Stadiacast. I'm Bill. That's Lloyd. It's Stadiacast. We talk about Stadia. Lloyd, what's going on, man?
Not much, dude. I am under the weather. I've been sick for like the last 3 days, so I'm hoping that my voice holds out for this episode. I'll be drinking lots of liquid and eating lots of Halls to keep my voice from fading.
Halls. I hate cough drops. I cannot find a cough drop that I like, except for the ones that are essentially just candy. And then they give me a stomach ache. So
really?
I don't eat cough drops at all. I just suffer through it. Plus,
wow.
I used
Halls
to have
cherry is my thing.
Oh,
I love
okay.
Halls cherry.
I used to have high blood pressure back when I was larger, and I couldn't take cold medicine because that would exacerbate the problem. So I would just have to suffer even worse through it. So I take care of yourself, people. Listen,
Yikes.
this is not a medical show. If you're looking for a medical show, then check out the Docs podcast. It's friends of mine from America's Next Top Podcaster do that show. If you want a medical show, that one's for you. This is not a medical show. This is Stadiacast. Before we get started, we record the show live every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern over at youtube.com/Stadiacast. If you want to directly support Stadiacast and you're here with us live, and you can use the super chat feature to make sure that we see your message at the end of and the second half of the show. We respond to each and every super chat. So we've already had a couple of super chats come in. So big thank you to Ray, Sherrod, and Lee Woods for sending in those super chats. You guys are fantastic. You can also, if you're not here live, or if you're here live, you can become a member of the channel, and that means that you'll get some videos early right here. Click on that join button right down below the video if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you are watching this on YouTube and you think, you know what, I kind of want to listen to this on the go, guess what? Go to anchor.fm/Stadiacast and you can download the show in whatever podcasting app that you want and be able to take this with you. And sometimes we will put out bonus episodes like we did earlier this week. So make sure that you guys check out our review of Borderlands, which Lloyd and I posted. I don't know, what day was that? Like Thursday?
Yeah, I think it was Thursday evening, Friday,
Something like that. Wow,
yeah.
Man.
I can't remember. The whole week's been a blur. And Bill, you missed your chance to say this is your prescription for Stadia News. I thought you'd throw in another medical joke after saying we're not a medical podcast.
Oh, man. All right, that's it. I'm going to delete everything and we're going to start all over and get it right. All right, let's get started. Lloyd, we start out, or listener, we start out every episode with talking about what Lloyd and I have been playing. Lloyd, I understand you have a story to tell.
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Borderlands. I'm trying to get get all the achievements. I'm down to one. I need to do the third Circle of Slaughter, which is I've tried like 3 times and I fail on the last wave, or the second last wave in the last round. So I play like 45 minutes and then I die at the end, and it's super, super frustrating. But while playing it, I had an issue with my controller. So I have one of these amazing Founders Edition Stadia controllers, and since launch, I've had an issue where this button, the right button, the right trigger button, if I look at it or breathe on it, it fires. So I had to change the way I game. So normally I'll rest my fingers on the trigger, and then as I'm playing through, I would hit the button and you'd have to press it a little bit for it to go off. But I even just think of pressing the button and I fire. So I've already had to change my play style a little bit, and it's not the end of the world, but that was a little bit of an issue. But I developed another issue where my left trigger was always pushed in. So I would be playing and I would just randomly zoom in. So I'd be trying to sprint, and I would start kind of doing this thing where I'm like stuttering because I'm bringing up my gun to zoom in. And I found that if I shook the controller, it would keep zooming in, zooming out. So I basically had to play like 10 hours or 8 hours of Borderlands with my finger right here, holding the trigger up and only moving it to push the trigger. It was so frustrating. So I contacted Stadia support and I was like, this is happening. This is a Founders controller. You can't get them anymore. I don't want to lose my controller. So what can be done? Is there like a software fix? Is there anything that I can do to fix it? And I went through a chat with a really awesome person from Google. Their support is just absolutely fantastic. Went through that. They had me record a video. So I went into the game and I recorded a video with the record video button on my controller and sent it to them, which was a huge hassle because I had to upload it to Google Drive, which you can't get at your videos. So I ended up playing it on my phone and screen recording and sending it to them. And they're like, oh no, we didn't mean that. We meant we want to record you with the controller on screen and the thing happening in the background. And I'm like, okay. So we spent 25 minutes trying to get that other video done. Okay, let's do this one.
Hold on a sec. That is a ridiculous ask for anybody that does not have the crazy setups that you and I have.
Well, you have your phone and you record it with your phone and you do things. And so it wasn't.
Yeah, all right. I get what you're saying now. I'm sorry. I was thinking another way. Go ahead.
I was like, well, how the hell am I supposed to do that? I'm like, oh, I should open OBS, and I have my camera, and I superimpose it. I'm like, oh,
That's
wait a
what I
second,
was thinking.
I have a phone here. So I recorded the screen, and I'm holding the controller, and then I moved the controller, and every time I did this, I was zooming in and out and shaking the controller, and then I was holding the controller still, and I was zooming in and out. And the guy's like, oh, yep, nope, definitely a problem. All right, I'm gonna escalate you to second tier support. What we'll do is we'll get you a replacement controller. So you'll send your controller in, and then we'll send you another Founders controller. And I'm like, okay, but you have to be sure that it's another Founders controller, because I want to put this on my shelf, because I'm a Stadia founder and I do a podcast, and I want to have this as a piece of history. He's like, okay, well, let me just check something with my supervisor. And he comes back. He's like, okay, well, we don't have any more Stadia founders. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a code that allows you to order a controller for free off of our Google store. But you just have to wait for the second tier support to come back. I was like, amazing. This is amazing. Thank you so much. So the next morning at 8 a.m., I get a phone call from Mountain View, California. And I'm like, oh, that's just a spam call, because I've been getting so many spam calls. So I don't answer it. And then I get an email immediately. It's like, we tried to contact you, but it went right to voicemail. And I'm like, damn it. So I replied and said, yep, that just call back. I will happily answer you when you call back. 20 minutes later, I get another call from Mountain View, California. Talk to, I can't remember the dude's name, tier 2 support. He was like, yeah, you have a problem with your founders. I totally get how you don't want to get rid of it. We can give you a code. The video looked terrible. I don't know how you played Borderlands like that. And we're kind of joking a little bit. And yeah, he gave me a code. I ordered my replacement controller on like Monday.
Lloyd, if you don't stop right now and tell us what color you ordered, I'm going to reach through the internet and punch you.
I was trying to hold it as long as possible, because I know that is the big question. So here's my new box.
Oh, it's already here?
Yeah, it's already here. I ordered on Monday and it arrived on Thursday. And I don't know if you can see it.
I can see a green sheen to it.
It's this guy. It is Wasabi. This, I think, is my favorite controller color ever. My white balance is blowing it out, but it's like this nice color of green, like mint green, almost like very, very faded mint green. But then the sticks are like this bright neon green. The new controller works fantastic. Stadia support is like the best support that I've ever gone through. It's right up there with Apple. I was super stoked that they were willing to send a new controller because of Founders Edition issue. I don't know if they do that for everybody. So if you have like a standard edition, maybe they want to get your controller back so they can send you another white one or whatever. But for them to be cognizant about the fact that this is a limited edition controller and maybe people don't want to get rid of it was a really cool experience. So kudos to Google support and that whole process. It was like a 40-minute text chat, and then it turned into like a 5-minute phone call the next day. And I have my new Wasabi controller already. And playing Borderlands is, do you know how much better playing Borderlands is when you don't have to lift the left trigger up so that you can stop zooming in all the time? It is a whole different experience.
I haven't had any problems with my controller yet, knock on wood. But if I do, you're going to have to send me the screenshot of exactly what you said to them, because sure. I don't want to get rid of my Founders controller either. I think it looks awesome. I will say this. Yep. I really wish that they hadn't gone with a screwless design, because I don't know how I feel about that. Like, if there's a problem, then it's essentially dead. I saw a guy who tried to get into one of these controllers on YouTube, and he ended up using a Dremel to cut into it because he didn't know what the inside was like. He didn't have the right tools to get in there, and it was just kind of a disaster. And I think that's a mistake. I think it's a mistake to not have access by the end user. And I will say this, it feels nice when you've got it, like, okay, so let me give you an example. Last night, I went to the gym. I was on the treadmill, walking uphill. I set it to 3.5 miles per hour, and I set it at the highest incline. And there's a couple of handles on in front of me, and every once in a while I put my hands on there, and on the underneath there's screw holes. And instinctively, when I put my hands on there, my ring fingers, they go right over the screw holes, and I put my fingers on there every single time. I don't know why that is. But on the Stadia controller, there's no screw holes, and it feels really nice. But is that worth it? Is that worth the trade-off of not being able to try and repair this yourself? Like, earlier this week, my son came up. He had dropped his PS4 controller, and the left stick, it was stuck, and you couldn't, you would move over to the left, and it would stay over there. So I did some research, and I found that if you pull up on it and twist it around a couple times, it would undo whatever had happened. And sure enough, that worked. But I instinctively turned it over and said, yep, there's some Phillips screw heads. I may go get a screwdriver and see if I can fix it. And if that happens on this, you just can't ever fix that. And I think it's a mistake, even though it's really, really nice design.
I think it's a huge mistake, because in 3 years, the battery on this thing is going to last you 45 minutes, just like a PlayStation 4 controller. Like my launch PlayStation 4 controllers, they last maybe a half hour, 40 minutes when I'm playing games. And you could open them up, and there's after party battery replacements. And I looked into that. But I didn't do it at the end. I just got a new PlayStation 4 controller on sale because it was cheaper than doing that process. But not having the ability to do that in the future is a problem. It would be really nice if there was even just a door that went into the back for where your battery goes, because the fact that this is a little computer, and when you hit the little Stadia button and it turns on, it takes like 15 seconds to boot up. You'll get to a point where you can't even the battery won't even last that long to actually boot your controller to then plug it into power. So there's going to be an issue in the future. So hopefully they can work on that for future releases of the Stadia controller. Make it so that you can do at least a battery replacement. If not, open it all up and see what's happening if you have like a gummed up A button or something.
Or you know what else they could do? They could make sure that they have stores like Google stores where you can walk in like you can with an Apple store, because I can't replace the battery in my phone on my own, but I can not walk because it's an hour drive from me because I live in the middle of nowhere. But that aside, a lot of people can just walk to an Apple store and say, hey, the battery in this is garbage. Can you replace it? And then, then they pay for that replacement.
Right.
Being able to walk into a store, that's one of the reasons I ended up not getting a Pixel phone, is because there is no place that I can take it and say, here, please fix this if there's a problem with it. Where with an Apple phone, I can go to the Apple store and say, here, please fix this. And sure, I could ship it off and get it fixed that way, but then I don't have a phone for a couple of days. If that happened with my controller, I find it ridiculous that Google does not have the shells for the Founders Edition, like bunches of them in case these fail eventually someday. They've got enough money that they could afford to have a warehouse full of those things just in case. Well, I don't know if it's ridiculous or not.
That happened to me. Like, you can't really see it on camera because my screen is so dark. This is my Xbox One controller. When I bought a new Xbox One, I bought the purple Kevin Xbox One, which was purple for Fortnite, which was the big glowing cube in Fortnite a few seasons ago.
Right. Okay, I was very confused, but I remember now.
So it was Kevin the Cube. So it was a purple color. My controller that came with it would desync constantly. So I'd be playing 5 minutes, 15, half hour. It would basically disconnect, and then I'd have to turn the power of the controller off and then turn it back on, which when you're playing Fortnite is not a fun thing because you get shot in the face. So I contacted support. They sent me another purple controller. Everything was perfectly fine. Everything went well for about a month. And then I guess the share button or whatever, some games use it as kind of a menu button, that stopped working. And I'm like, what the hell? So I've had two purple controllers have issues. So I contacted support again. And this time I actually had to send it in first before they would send me a replacement. They verified the issue and they sent me a third purple controller. so if this was Stadia, they wouldn't have been able to do that because apparently they ran through just a print run of the night blue, and then when those ran out, that was it. I guess they didn't hold enough back in support for replacements and fixes and things like that. So that's the problem with buying special edition colors. Is sometimes you get in trouble like that where it breaks down the line and there's just no way to replace or repair that specific color of controller.
Now, let me ask you a question, and I promise, guys, we'll get to the news. We're having fun talking about Stadia controllers. Let me ask you a question, though. Your Stadia Founders Edition controller, do you like this color better or worse than the Wasabi?
I like the orange under the sticks. I really love that because I love orange. I like the Wasabi because it's not white. I have a lot of controllers that are either white or gray, which I don't really like. I think even though they never do, I think they're going to show dirt in the future. But that's never happened because I don't have dirty hands when I play games. But the actual Stadia color, like I just, or the Wasabi color rather, I just love it. Like it's a really nice light kind of greeny tealy kind of color with the bright neon yellow sticks. I really love it.
So let's imagine for a second that back when we ordered our Founders Editions, you got to choose the color, and let's pretend that whatever they call this, midnight blue or whatever, let's pretend that this is not a limited edition thing.
Right.
Which color would you have ordered?
Wasabi.
Okay, yeah, me too. I also would have ordered Wasabi because I think it looks better, even though I have not yet seen it in person. I think it looks better. So part of me, like if I had to replace this one, yeah, I would be sad because it's limited edition, but I would like the one that I would get as a Wasabi as better. I would not want white or black.
Right.
But,
yeah,
but
same.
Wasabi I'd be happy for.
Exactly. We had one question in the chat while we were talking. It was from Shen. Would you say the new controller's triggers are less sensitive? So one thing you can hear, we'll see if you can hear it. I don't know if my mic will pick it up, but when you press the trigger on the Founders, it's like very clicky. It's like there's a hard stop. With this one,
oh, weird.
There's no clicky to it. So I don't know if they put like a little bit of rubber in it to make it not as clicky when you're pushing the triggers. I find that the shoot button is still very sensitive. It would be nice if there was a utility where you could basically configure your dead zones for that button. But it's not as sensitive as my Founders was.
I feel like that's the case. I think it's a Borderlands thing. I don't know if you've been trying it on other games, but on Borderlands, yeah. I feel like I will often go into my zoom when I didn't mean to, just by barely touching it. And that doesn't happen to me in Destiny 2. So I think that's a Borderlands thing. I could be wrong, though. It's been a while since I played Destiny.
I found it with Destiny. Originally, I thought it was lag where I would shoot and then I would shoot a second time, and I'm like, that's weird. So I thought there was like lag. It was thinking that I was pushing the button twice when I only pushed it once. But what I found, what it was when I was letting go of the shoot button, I was keeping it pressed in just a little bit so that it would shoot a second time, and then after that second shot, I'd usually remove my finger. So I was still getting it in Destiny. I haven't played Destiny with this new controller to see if it's the same thing. But yeah,
sounds like you have an assignment.
Yeah, I definitely think it's an issue with the controller where a lot of controllers, they'll have a dead zone for the sticks or the triggers where the first 2% of pushing at the front and at the end doesn't actually do anything. And some controllers, like this guy, my 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus, you can actually go into a program and you can actually individually set the dead zone for the left and right analog stick and both your triggers. It'd be nice if maybe Stadia had some sort of thing like that where it would allow you to adjust the dead zones, or have just like a something in the menus where you could adjust the dead zones for each of your controllers that you have, because that is an issue that we've had with controllers for a while, where some people prefer the ability to push the trigger a little bit before it triggers. Other people just want it to be instantaneous. So hopefully they can adjust for that in the future.
Well, we've been talking for quite a long time. Usually we discuss the games that we have been playing But because Lloyd and I have been talking about this other stuff so much, it makes more sense for us to move on. And we can, if you really want to know what we've been playing a lot of Borderlands, and we did this 20-minute discussion about what we think of Borderlands 3, because we both have now finished it. So please go back and either watch that video or listen to that episode of the podcast. Let's move on to the news, and let's start with this community post from Google. It's basically what happens after my 3 free months of Stadia Pro are up. And let's look at the FAQ. So it says here, what happens to my Stadia account if I cancel my Pro subscription or when my 3-month Stadia Pro expires? So the answer is, if you decide to opt out of your Stadia Pro subscription, your account will be reverted to the free version of Stadia when you reach your subscription renewal date. Your Stadia Pro subscription will automatically renew, so there's no lapse in your membership unless you actively cancel. Now, of the two of us, one of us has actively canceled, and it was more for an experiment, right, Lloyd?
I didn't cancel.
Oh, I thought you canceled so you could see what happens.
I did, and then I got really nervous right when everybody was starting to renew, and I'm like, what if I lose my founder's name? It's not going to happen, but what if that happens? What if there's some weird bug? And I went in and I renewed.
All right.
I was scared.
Well, all right, that's fine. We can find out what happens because I have 2 accounts. Right? I've got my first account that I got when Stadia first shipped, and then because I had claimed that on the wrong email address, my friend who had bought another Founders Edition and just has it sitting on a shelf, he sent me his extra Founders code, so I have that code, and I just got to fix the website real quick there. So I'm going to switch over to the account it's called RJS because I tried to change my name to Bill, right. And they won't let me. That has permanently been attached to my other account, which makes me pretty sad because I wanted to use the other account, or I wanted to use just the name Bill instead of Run Jump Stomp. But by the way, if you want to friend me on Stadia, I'm Run Jump Stomp, and he's Dasme. He's right down there. I don't know why I pointed over there. All right, so on there, I bought Guilt, I bought Darksiders Genesis, and I bought Final Fantasy 15. And those are the only games that I can see on here. And this is very interesting. If you go into the store, which I don't understand why they did it this way. If I go into, that's Stadia Pro games. If I go into Stadia Pro games, all right, and I look on my Stadia Pro games, it shows Destiny 2 The Collection as a Stadia Pro game, and Farming Simulator 19, Metro Exodus, and Thumper, as well as Guilt. It shows those games as the games that are available for Stadia Pro. However, I know that I also claimed Tomb Raider when this account was active, and it's not showing it. Now, I know that if I resubscribed, then it would show up.
Right.
But I don't understand why they're not showing me that as resubscribe and you get this, because that would convince people to resubscribe. You know, they would resubscribe, or they would be looking through there and they'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. I can play, if I resubscribe right now, I can have access to all these other games. So they need to have a third option. There's a thing on here that says purchased. There's one on here that says pro free. And then they should have something that says claimed, access this again when you resubscribe or something like that. I think that's a big mistake on their part, not showing me that.
So if you go to your main menu in your Stadia app and you have all the games that are scrolling at the bottom, do you see the other games you've claimed down there, or do they not show up there either?
It only shows me the games that I have purchased.
Oh, which that's a fail.
Yeah.
They should have right at the end, they should be grayed out saying, you also own these, resubscribe for access.
Exactly.
It would be a really great way to just advertise that.
Right. And I don't understand what they're maybe they were trying to avoid all of the calls that they would get. Hey, it says here that I've got this game, but when I tap on it, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they were trying. I don't know.
Yeah, like I get that, and maybe they don't want the people on Reddit to complain, to say, "Hey, why is it showing me all these games?" And maybe they don't want that hate. But if they had like a badge over top of it that says "Resubscribe to Pro for access," and you would just see a grayed out icon of the game that you owned, I think that might be a nice little prodding. Like maybe not this month, but maybe in a couple months when people come back to Stadia
Right.
because another game they really want to play is on it, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I got Thumper. I didn't even play Thumper. If I resubscribe now, I get access to, I don't know, whatever new pro game is the month, 6 months from now. I don't know, Grand Theft Auto. Say Grand Theft Auto is the pro game because in this fictional future, this is coming to Stadia. And it's like, oh, I not only get access to GTA, but then I can actually play Thumper and I can play Tomb Raider and I can play all the other games that I had. I think that would be a really great way. But that's in the future, so they still have time to work on things like that.
All right, so there's one fail on their part. Here's another one, and this one I think is even bigger. If I go into the Stadia Pro deals, it just shows the games that you get a discount on for Stadia Pro deals. So it says Borderlands 3, $60. Borderlands 3 Deluxe Edition, $80. Borderlands 3 Super Deluxe Edition, $100. It does not show me what the discount would be until I actually click or tap on the game. And then it doesn't tell me the price, it tells me how much I save. So on Borderlands 3, I'm going to put this up on the screen so people can really see it. All right. On here, it says Borderlands 3, $60 game, save $29.99 with Pro. It does not tell me what the price would be if I were a Pro subscription. They make me do the math. And that is just bananas to me. It should, on this screen right here, it should say, this is your price. This is your price if you were a Pro subscriber. This is your price. This is your price if you were a Pro subscriber. It's just foolish.
It is. Like if you go to the PlayStation Store, they always have deals for PlayStation Plus subscribers, and it will say $50 or $19.99 for PlayStation Plus, and it's in orange writing or yellow writing. You know that it's a PlayStation Plus thing. When you click through to the game, it says if you subscribe to PlayStation Plus, you save $40 or $30, but at least it shows both prices there. So yeah, in the future, maybe they could change that for their UI, because I know it's just one line, but then they could have in brackets $19.99 for Pro.
Yeah.
Just to like market. You have like a captive audience here. They're looking at your store. Market the Pro service that you're selling, because it's like, okay, I'm saving $30 right now buying Borderlands. If I buy it with Pro, well, Pro's only $10, so I could save $20 if I just subscribe to Pro and then buy the game. I'm gonna totally do that, and they're gonna get that many more people signing up for Pro. They claim new games. Eventually, they're gonna get a game they don't want to lose, and then they're gonna go that way. From a marketing standpoint, that would just totally make sense for them to do that.
And it's not. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me. I don't really care that that's what they're doing. I just think that they're leaving money on the table by 100%. Not more effectively showing people what they can get. Maybe there's some kind of market research that we're not aware of that made them make that decision, but I think that is the wrong decision. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually affect anything, but it just seems weird. A really poorly planned UI. Anyway, let's go back to the FAQ. It says, what will happen if the Stadia Pro games I claimed, i.e. Destiny 2 the collection, it says you'll lose access to your claimed Stadia Pro games, but will retain access to the games you've purchased from the Stadia store. All right. Now, this is where a lot of people got really, really upset, because there were some people out there who assumed that the Founders Edition came with Destiny 2 the collection. And the reason why they assumed that is because here's a screenshot from I don't know what this actual screenshot is from. It looks familiar. I've seen it. But it says $129 for your it's from a tweet, okay? It says $129 for your Founders Edition. Comes with blah, 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 blah. One of the things it comes with is Destiny 2 the collection. And there's no little asterisk there that says This is part of your Pro subscription. However, if you look at the Stadia Connect, which happened on June 6th, that's when they first did the first Stadia Connect. At like the 19-minute mark, John Justice is on there, standing in the giant white Google room, and he says you get it as part of your Pro subscription. So
Right.
what do you think, Lloyd? Do you think that people are right to be upset that Destiny... Do you think that people were right to assume that Destiny 2 was included outside of the Pro subscription?
Yeah, I think it was the marketing for this was a little bit odd, because I assumed that when you bought the box, my Stadia box is too far, but so I can't grab it. But if you bought the Stadia box, you would get Destiny 2 the collection as part of buying it. So you get the Chromecast Ultra, you get your controller, and you also got Destiny 2 the collection, which is all the content. And then I remember I think it was Bungie was talking about it, and it's like, yeah, Destiny 2 the collection, it's on Stadia, you get access to it for the first year, so you're going to get all the content we release and all the stuff for the first year. You get to do all of your season stuff for the first year. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a really good bonus. You buy the package for $130, you get your controller, your CCU, and you get Destiny 2 for the whole entire year. It turns out, no, you get it for 3 months. And Destiny 2 itself is free on every other platform. You can play the base game of Destiny 2 on PC, on Xbox, on PlayStation. On Stadia, when you don't pay for your 3 months, you don't get to play Destiny. Even the base version of Destiny just goes away. And I understand that Google hasn't talked about what their process for free to play is going to be, if they're going to allow free to play on base, or if you have to have a pro subscription for free to play, or if you get in a queue on base. Like, they haven't talked about anything, and there's a million different ways that they could address it. But yeah, it's weird to me. You would think that someone paid you $130 with Destiny 2 being advertised on it, that would be a game that you would own regardless of whether you're pro or not. So maybe that's initially what it was supposed to be, and then things changed, marketing changed, agreements changed, something else changed, and they're like, no, we can't just give people Destiny 2. We have to give them Destiny 2 and Samurai Showdown and this other game, Tomb Raider, and maybe the furor from the initial founders about there's the only free game we get is this. What? Maybe that changed the way Google is moving forward, but there's just a lot of confusion. And we've said that about a lot of the early communications from Stadia, is they weren't super clear, and they're new to this, and I understand that. But it would have been nice to get a little bit of clarification on the initial branding of Destiny 2 being included as only if you are a pro subscriber.
Right. And you know, in their defense, you know, John Justice said it is part of your pro subscription, but 100%. Then in this tweet, it doesn't mention that. And that's the big mistake, is again their messaging, where they have tripped over their own shoelaces and landed on their face. And now there's a bunch of people who are upset. And listen, Google, you got a lot of money. All right. Money can solve this problem. Here's how you can solve this problem. You buy, for every single person who has got a Founders Edition, you go out and you buy for them, because I guess if you buy one of the DLCs, and any of the DLCs, you also will get access. Because, okay, so I guess I should probably explain this. Destiny 2 has a free base game, and then there's a bunch of DLC that goes on top of it. Okay? If you go into the store and you buy one of those DLCs, you also will get access to the quote-unquote free base game, and then you can continue playing. So I think what Google should do is they should say, listen, we didn't do a good job communicating to you the fact that Destiny 2, the collection, was only given to you via your pro subscription, even though they said it in the YouTube video, and even though that they tweeted out stuff about that later, like before launch. This tweet right here, the one that's on the screen, this tweet is confusing to people, and there are going to be people who bought this system for the sole purpose of playing Destiny 2, the collection. That's just the way it goes. No matter what game system you buy, there's always one game that people bought it for. And this is the one game that people bought it for. This is the pro game. So solve your problem, Google, and just buy one of the DLCs for every single founder person so that they can continue to play Destiny 2. Maybe not all of the DLCs, but just one of them so that they can keep playing the base game. And I think that you will have a lot of happy people on your hands. I don't know what to say about that, though, because, again, free-to-play games are going to be locked behind the pro subscription, I believe. So Destiny 2 is a free-to-play game, and that's why you can't buy it yet. I don't know. What do you think, Lloyd?
I would love some clarity for how they're going to handle free-to-play, and I know they haven't really talked about it. We have one wound penguin wound up penguin. Oh, wound up penguin. There you go. Said in the chat room that they said in one of their AMAs that free to play is going to be is not going to be part of base.
That's
true.
I
don't recall that. I remember
it was Andriy Duranichev said that.
He said that like full on out. I thought they said we have nothing to announce about free to play on pro or base. Maybe I'm wrong there. I'm gonna have to go dig that up because if that is indeed the case, then we know what their process moving forward is going to be, that you need to have a pro subscription to play free to play games like Fortnite or whatever else is going to come to Stadia.
I remember reading that, but I could also be remembering it wrong. So if somebody could find us the link and drop it in our Discord in the Stadiacast channel, it would be awesome for us to be able to look at. But let's move on from this. We've really been talking for a long time. Let's take a quick break. We'll hear from a sponsor. When we come back, we have to talk a little bit about Spitlings. Stick around.
Color? Introducing Game Gear from Sega. The full-color portable video game system that separates the men from the boys. Game Gear from Sega.
All right, everybody, we are back. Let's take a look at this interview with, this is an interview with Google and the creators of Spitlings, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. There's some interesting information in here. First off, the game comes out February 25th, so on Tuesday, you're going to be able to play Spitlings on Stadia. Let's start with Lloyd. Do you care about this game?
It looks fun. I'm gonna have no 4-player local co-op time ever on Stadia. I don't think it's something that I'm gonna ever do. But if the online works really well, I think this could be a lot of fun to get into. If you're not familiar with Spitlings, you're these little blobby cubey things, and you're basically firing up at these blobs that are coming down, and when you hit a big blob, it changes into small blobs. If you ever played Buster Bros back in the day on like Super Nintendo or arcade, it's just like that, except it's 4-player. You can bounce into your friends, knock them into the line of fire, and things like that. It looks really cool. It would be really fun local 4-player at like a party setting on my TV, but I can't see myself buying 3 more Stadia controllers to play a game like this.
I get what you're saying. However, they are focused on this being an online multiplayer game. You can also play it locally, but it is an online multiplayer game. In fact, in the interview, they said something very, very, oh my God, my iPad thinks I'm talking to it. They said something in it. It says here, oh gosh, where is it? What makes you excited to develop Spitlings on Stadia? And they said, Stadia gives us a chance to share Spitlings with more players across different devices. And then, of course, blah, blah, blah. That's nonsense. Here's the real answer. It says, since we needed to make sure that playing with friends worked flawlessly, low latency and fluid gameplay on Stadia were huge factors for us. Additionally, we have some great new mechanics and features in the works that will be available post-launch. Now, I don't know what that means, but you got to remember that when you are connected to Stadia and you're playing a multiplayer game, your connection to the other players is incredibly good. And that is very, very exciting to me because we have all played, Lloyd and I both do Nintendo shows, and we have all played Nintendo's peer-to-peer stuff. And the peer-to-peer is always kind of a disaster unless the other person has, like, if Lloyd and I play against each other, it's going to be a really, really great experience. But if I play against somebody on the Nintendo Switch who is in their backyard in a hammock sitting out in the sun, as far from their Wi-Fi point as they can get, it's going to be a horrible experience for me and for them. That's never going to be a problem for me with Stadia, because the people who have bad connections, they're going to be the only ones that have a problem. I won't have a problem because I have a good connection. And the problem that they will have will probably be less about stuttering or gameplay freezing. It'll be more about, man, this game kind of looks like crap because my connection is so bad. There's lots of macro blocking going on. So everybody having the same multiplayer parity level, I think is huge, and it makes me very excited for it. What do you think? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's a great point, but I've played a lot of like 4-player co-op games with people in my basement, and the game devolves into you making fun of each other and laughing. Like, we used to play Bomberman on the Switch all the time when the Switch first came out. Bomberman on the Switch was not a really great game, but having people over for drinks or a party or dinner and then go into the basement and play 4-player Bomberman, the fun is being there with your 4 people in your basement. I've also played a lot of 4-player online games, and that fun of being around the people goes away. Even if you're on voice chat, it's not as fun of having people in the basement. So I hope that this game is going to be fun to play online. I'm excited to check it out, but I don't. There's something special about actually playing couch co-op with 3 other buddies and just getting on each other because someone screwed up or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see how this game's experience kind of evolves playing as an online only, for most people, 4-player multiplayer party game.
Right, and I agree. Being next to the people is definitely a better experience, but I don't think that happens very often anymore. Most people, they go, like, sometimes I have seen where, like, my son will prefer, like, he'll be invited to go hang out at a friend's house, and he'll be like, but then we can't play a game together anymore because the game doesn't have split screen, whatever. So, like, him and his friends will prefer to stay at their respective houses and play a game using voice chat.
Sure.
And they will be able to do all of the things that they want to do that they couldn't do if they were all in the same house, because they don't have 4 different screens or 4 different systems, and you know what I mean, Lloyd?
100%. And I think that's kind of the interesting thing. Like, developers are trying to bring back old franchises, old gameplay types that only worked because it was 4 people crowded around an arcade cabinet, or 4 people sitting in front of their N64 with 4 controllers plugged in. They're trying to recreate it online, where that really doesn't work. Just similar to games that were in the arcade, where the only reason why they were fun was because you're trying to get as far as you can on a quarter. But when you play a game at home, you could just keep inserting quarters, so you could beat 1942 or you could beat Final Fight without any issues, because you don't have a limitation of, I only have 4 quarters in my pocket, I gotta get as far as I want. So they've taken the beat 'em up genre, for example, as one, and they've had to change it because it's no longer like just keep inserting quarters. It's now, okay, we're gonna have unlocks, we're gonna have this, we're gonna have special characters. Playing River City Girls, for example, is an amazing modern side-scrolling beat 'em up, where previous versions of side-scrolling beat 'em ups that have come out, like Streets of Red and there's another one, I can't think of the name of it, was essentially just, it's an arcade game, but you don't have to put a quarter in the machine to play it. So I think there's fun to be had there. It'll just be interesting to see how they handle it as a predominantly online only game, where it's meant to be a game that used to be played with 4 people in the same basement, bumping into each other and giving people Charlie horses for knocking you into a pit.
I think that, Lloyd, you, my friend, are suffering from rose-colored glasses. Not because that was not fun, because it was. But I think the younger generation of people, they don't have those memories.
100%.
And so for them, being able to play online is much more important than being able to play couch co-op. I think that and that generation of people, they are getting older and older and older. And so the really, really old people like Lloyd and I, the people who remember those days of going to somebody's house and playing Double Dribble and having a tournament of Double Dribble on the NES, we don't like that. That just like that doesn't happen anymore, and the most of the gaming community probably doesn't remember doing that kind of thing. So I think that Spitlings has some serious potential, but only time will tell. And are you going to be picking it up next week on Tuesday?
I kind of want to, but it's one of those games where it all depends if I have friends that pick it up, because it's not a game that I'm going to want to play solo. It's not a game that I'm going to want to play with randoms. So I guess it all depends if I know some people that have picked it up and they want to jump in and play it. I picked up Trials, for example, on Stadia because everybody was talking about it on the Discord. I haven't played much of it. So that can bite me in the butt both ways. Either I buy a game and no one's playing it, or I buy a game that's everybody's playing, and then I just kind of go, I don't really like it. So we'll see. I think it might be a fun game to play with our listeners. So maybe that's a good game to pick up.
Yeah, I wish that they had said in this interview how much it was going to cost, but I don't see that anywhere.
Do you want to guess? What do you think? I think this is a $25 game.
Oh, I was going to say 20. I thought that you and I were right on the, like, saying exactly the same thing. Yeah, I think it's going to be 20. You think it's going to be 25?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with that. Listen, everybody, tweet at us. I'm at Run Jump Stomp. He's Dasmy, but use the hashtag Stadiacast and let us know what price do you think is the right price for Spitlings. And don't say $5. Don't say the price that you hope it is. Say what you think the right price is, not the price that you're hoping for, okay? So, or say what you think the price will be, not the price you're hoping for. Hopefully, that's hopefully I'm getting that across. So, hashtag Stadiacast on Twitter. I'm seeing $29.99 in chat, $15 in chat, $14.99 in chat. Res TV says the 80s, so he thinks it's going to be $80. All right.
In Canada, that's what we pay for regular discs that you buy at the store, so it wouldn't surprise me.
We did have a story in here that it's less than a month to GDC 2020, and we were going to talk about predictions, but I don't think that we should do that today because we've already gone 48 minutes. So you want to push that to next week?
Yeah, let's do that. And we want to talk a little bit about the SteamWorld games. There was an announcement this week that we're getting 4 SteamWorld games on Stadia soon, and 2 of them will be free for Pro members. So just want to throw that out. Bill did a really good video. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. Damn you, Bill, for getting off 3 hours before I finish work, that you can do all these videos. But the SteamWorld Dig 2 and SteamWorld Quest are going to be free for Pro, and they're also going to be $30 on the store. And then the other 2 games that aren't free for Pro, I think, are $15 on the store. So it definitely pays to have a Pro subscription if you want to play these games.
Yeah, and those games are fantastic. Go back and watch my video if you haven't. And by the way, I'm learning about color correction. So if it looks weird, that's why. I'm learning how to do things. All right, let's move on to crowd play. And there was something that I said at the beginning of the show that I wanted to talk about at the end of the show. Do you remember what it was, Lloyd? I told you to remember, and then I forgot.
I am all hopped up on cold medication. I can't remember what I said 3 sentences ago, so no, I don't remember. I meant to write it down and I didn't. So
all right. Well, hopefully somebody in chat will remember what it was. Anthony Talcott sent in a super chat. Well, actually, we got a bunch of super chats that came in. So again, thank you to Lee and Ray for their super chats that happened before the show even started. JB sent in a $2 super chat. They said this podcast is a great listen for Stadia news. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thomas N7 sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you very much for the support. He didn't leave a message with it. Anthony Talcott sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for supporting at that level. They said, hey, Bill and Lloyd, been enjoying Elder Scrolls Online, trying to find a good Archer build. Do you think Stadia will give the latest expansion as a pro deal? I hope so. So here's what I think is going to happen. Will it be a pro deal? I don't think that you're going to get it for free. No. But what I think that will happen is it will be a discount. And the way that the game basically works is you buy the expansion, you have access to the base game, then there's other expansions that you can buy, and they're all optional. And if you are just starting out for the first time, what's going to happen is you're going to buy that expansion for whatever the price is. It'll probably be $60, maybe a pro discount. So you buy that expansion, and you will the way Elder Scrolls Online works is so weird compared to other MMOs. The world is the same level as you, no matter what level you are. So you will start where all of the other people who have been playing this game for years are starting as well. They will, like, you will be doing the same quest as somebody who is at the level cap and has hundreds of champion points. They're going to be doing the same quests as you, and you can work together with them. So you don't have to go back and play all of the old stuff unless you want to. And it's really, really cool the way that they do that. But I think that it's just going to be, hey, here's the Skyrim expansion or whatever they're calling it. I forget. Here's the Skyrim expansion. Just get started with that, and you're not going to have the base game to buy and then the expansion to buy. It's going to be all in one.
Right.
Okay. Sukotronic also sent in a super chat, so thank you very much for Sukotronic. He did not leave a message though. All right. Kriparian sent in a tweet using the hashtag Stadiacast, and they said, check this out. Google Stadia will be pre-installed on the next ASUS ROG phone. This comes to us from 9 to 5 Google. So thank you very much for the tweet, Kriparian. And I think I don't really care about this particular phone or whatever, but I think that this is important because a lot of people are going to forget that Stadia is going to be pre-installed on a lot of Android phones, I believe. And that is going to be a huge, huge push. Once Stadia is free, that's going to be a huge push for Stadia and getting people to try it out, because they're going to see this icon on their phone and they're going to be like, what the hell is this? Oh, I can play Red Dead Redemption 2 on my phone? Well, I'll try that out. And then they will, they'll try it out and they'll see that it works really well. By the way, speaking of phones, I know I'm talking for a long time, but I can see that Lloyd is typing. Somebody sent in a picture of their phone sitting on top of their Nintendo Switch. And I said, well, if you look at that, the Switch screen is actually bigger because it's taller. And then I took my phone, my iPhone 11 Pro, and I set it on top of my Switch with the Switch on, and I couldn't see the screen. And so my phone screen is roughly the same size as my Nintendo Switch screen. And for a lot of time, I've been saying, oh, I'm not going to play on my phone because the screen is going to be too small. I think I may have been wrong about that. I probably still won't play on my phone because, getting out the claw and hooking it up to my phone and wasting battery life. Like, my phone is for other things. But for a lot of people out there, my argument that the phone is too small a screen is just a dumb argument. And I just had to say that I was being dumb. Lloyd, what do you think about that?
I agree. I have a iPhone 10, and I played a bunch of Halo using the xCloud beta like this, and it is not a pretty sight. It's hard to see anything on the screen. I have old eyes. I know my daughter, she plays on her phone all the time. She plays Roblox and other games on her phone all the time. When she has a Switch hooked up to a TV, she has access to a PlayStation 4, she has access to Stadia, but she prefers to play this way. So I think for people with younger eyes, that is the way they want to play. They want to do everything on their phone. It seems to be a lot of kids. That's how they want to play video games, on their mobile devices. So it could just be, that's not for me, but it's also, it's for a lot of people. And your point about Stadia being installed on a lot of Android phones coming up, I think that's going to be part of the normal Google suite. If you want to have the Play Store on your phone, you need to have the Play Store, you need to have Chrome, you need to have Stadia, you need to have Google Docs, you need to have Google Mail. Stadia will just become one of those parts that it's going to be bundled in. And I think, yeah, more often than not, you're going to see that Stadia icon on any new device that comes out.
All right. Our next question comes from Michael Perkins. They sent a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for supporting, Michael. It says, any idea how many servers Stadia has? I would imagine that the limiting factor for base will be how many machines they have and what is the capacity. Ideas? Lloyd, you want to start that one off?
Oh, geez, I don't even know. Like Google has probably some of the biggest footprint for hardware of any company out there. They have super nodes, they have edge nodes, they have caching servers. They have like all this equipment all over the world that is all connected to a super high speed network, and they can all talk to each other really, really fast. Google hasn't hinted at the number of blades that they have out there in the cloud. I would think that if they want to launch base soon, they're going to have 1 million, 500,000 of these things out there, unless they want people to have lines. But yeah, I don't have any way to even guess at the number of machines that they have out there sitting in the cloud.
Yeah, I don't have a guess for that either. However, I do have to say that the way that they roll out base, in my opinion, and I don't have any inside information on this, but I'm guessing that the way that they're going to roll out base is going to be the same way that they rolled out Gmail. You can get an invite from a friend, like a buddy pass, or you will just be invited. So like everybody will apply and they'll say, hey, I want to be on Stadia. And then they'll say, all right, we sent out this week's people who can start playing. So those people will start playing, and they're going to do this based on the number of blades that they have so that they don't get oversaturated. Because what they know is going to happen is that people will start playing, and then X% of those people will continue to play, and the rest of the percent will say, well, I'm too busy to do this, or, I'll play once a week or something, because they're not like super into it. And those people will fall off. And then as the number of people who are using Stadia continues to dwindle, then they'll say, new set of invites have gone out. And then it will balloon back up to their to their limit. And then slowly over time, it will drop back down. And it will be this ebb and flow over time. It'll be fits and starts. And I think that that's how they're going to avoid being saturated and having people wait in the queue. And of course, the people who will never have to wait in the queue will be the people who are pro subscribers. And I think that that's perfectly reasonable. That's the same thing that GeForce Now is doing. They aren't doing the ebb and flow thing, but they're saying if you don't want to wait in the queue, then subscribe. And I think that that's perfectly fine. And that's how I anticipate Google doing it. But thank you for the question, Michael.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. And as Stadia Blade 1.1 and 1.2 and 2.0 and 3.0 come out, Google's going to continue to have this old hardware just laying around. And maybe they can repurpose some of it. Like maybe it can be search appliances or do another duty, but then be available whenever a free Stadia base user wants to play. Because the current blades that are out there can do 4K, but if you're a base, you don't have access to 4K, so it can do 1080p 60 frames a second or 30 frames a second or 720p or whatever. Keeping this old hardware around and have the game still playable on it would allow Google to then just increase the number of machines that are available to base just by adding newer hardware into their data center. So they have so many different ways that they can grow in the future. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next year, 2 years, 5 years.
Yeah, somebody in our community Discord over at runjumpstomp.com/Discord was asking this morning, do we think that when they upgrade to the next version of Stadia, they upgrade the blades? Obviously, they're going to do these in segments, though they're going to they can't do them all at once. It's impossible. It's not like when you sell a new console and then people bring them home and they plug them in, they could just unhook the stuff themselves, plug in the next thing, and start playing. When they roll out the next version of Stadia, which, by the way, we won't have to pay for, that's another reason why I'm excited for Stadia. When they do that, that's going to happen in batches. And obviously what will happen is they will make sure that based on what game you launch, it's probably going to say, okay, we're going to launch you on this. Like, let me give you an example. Let's get a new version out there, and I go to launch Red Dead Redemption 2. They're going to put me on the new version to give me the most power, the most bang for my buck. If I'm launching a game like, we'll say, Panzer Dragoon Remake or Serious Sam Trilogy, that's probably going to be launching on the older hardware because it doesn't require as much power. So based on what game you're playing is probably what version of Stadia you're going to be playing on. And at the end of the day, because I don't have to buy anything, because I don't have to worry about the hardware, it doesn't matter to me. It all becomes invisible magic, which at the end of the day is a good thing for the end user.
Exactly. And Google has these points all over the world where they want to have Stadia close to you. So they'll install a bunch of Stadia blades in, say, Toronto to cover the Ontario, and they'll put a bunch in Quebec for all the Montreal people. And I think the ones from Winnipeg, I think, are in South Dakota, because I don't
all
think we
Canadian
have
references, by the way.
Well, I'm just talking about because I looked into if we had a super node nearby, and I don't believe there's one by Manitoba. So I think it might be South Dakota or North Dakota. So they have to upgrade all these things across North America, but they're also in Belgium and Denmark and Sweden and Spain and Netherlands and Italy. Like they have all these things all over the world. Unlike some other providers, like what Sony is doing for their PlayStation Now, I don't think they have the same number of data centers as Google does. So when you're playing a game, you are also playing on a server that is far away from you. So a lot of the input lag that you're getting isn't because of the service, it's because of the distance between you and where that machine is, where Stadia is doing its best to get rid of that. So rolling out Stadia 2.0 is going to be a long process across a whole huge number of data centers all around the world. And it's going to be a slow rollout for sure.
Well, I have to say that these were some really good questions that people sent in, and we could sit here all day and answer those questions, but the podcast would get really, really long. So here's what we're going to do. I don't know if Lloyd can stick around because I know that he's under the weather and not feeling very well, but I'm going to stick around after the show is done recording and continue to answer those questions. And by the way, if you didn't know, this is live on YouTube. If you're watching this, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. It lets YouTube know that our content is worth consuming, and so then they are more likely to recommend that to other people. So that is the biggest thing that you can do to help us out. Yes, the super chats help, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell because it lets YouTube know that we're doing a good job. All right. Let's wrap up the show. You can follow the show on Twitter at Stadiacast. You can follow me at Run Jump Stomp. You can follow Lloyd at Dasme. Be sure to use the hashtag Stadiacast so that we can find your tweets. We had so many great super chats. I couldn't get to the hashtag Stadiacast tweets that came in, so maybe next week. Join the Stadiacast Discord. I already mentioned that URL, so make sure you check that out. And while you're joining Discords, don't forget about Lloyd's Discord over at resd.tv/Discord. Make sure you check that out. Music that you are about to hear is Subterranean Kamikaze by Zircon. Check out their stuff at zirconstudios.bandcamp.com. Lloyd, feel better, man.
I will try. Thanks, man.
All right, we're back. I recorded, and I'm
You caught me
saving.
off guard. You caught me off guard. I was in the middle of reading a comment that someone was posting, so I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll try." That was awkward.
Sorry, man. All right, that is saved.
Stadia Weekly. They're building them as we speak. What are you referencing, Stadia Weekly?
I think he's talking about the upgraded blades that they will that they will replace. John Justice actually said that they have the next, like they already have the next couple of iterations ready, and they will bring them out as needed. So I think that's awesome.
And I mean, that's what all hardware manufacturers do. Like when the Switch comes out or the PlayStation 4 comes out, they already have working hardware for the next generation, and they go through many iterations, and a lot of the stuff that they work on doesn't ever come to market. So yeah, companies are always working on the next big thing and testing on that stuff. So yeah, they probably have multiple different iterations. And we also got to remember that Stadia, you can have games running across multiple blades that are all going to one instance. So they can using elastic computing in the future, if they run out of Stadia 2.0 blades to run whatever the next biggest game, Cyberpunk Cyberpunk is that game, they could also take 2 or 3 Stadia 1.0 blades and bond them together and share the GPU and CPU that way, if the game is written in such a way to do distributed computing across multiple different GPUs.
Which I think will be the case for games that are new after Stadia comes out. I don't think that's going to be the case for any game that comes out within the first year of Stadia. But when we're talking about, next, 2021, 2022, 2025, that's when we will see, like right now, they are doing all of the building blocks. And a lot of people are looking at the building blocks and they're like, oh, that's so cute. Look at what Google's doing. It's so lame. But they don't understand that those building blocks are stairs to get to this ridiculously high cliff that eventually you're going to get to. And people are going to look up at that high cliff, and there's going to be Google standing up there, and they're going to be like, man, how'd they get all the way up there? Well, they built the building blocks, people. I don't know if it's a good metaphor or not. It's just, I came up with it just now.
Yeah, exactly. Darren Pogue says it would be amazing marketing if Google had a PR announcement of the upgraded specs prior to Xbox and PS5 release. That would be great. Yeah, if it's like, yep, we just released Stadia 2 blades in the wild. They have 37 gigaflops of GPU, and there you go. And that would totally, or teraflops of GPU, and that would totally beat out what Xbox Series X and PS5 would have. And they could definitely do it, and they could put it out in the market. It's just a matter of getting that hardware out there and then getting the games that support it, because no Stadia 1.0 blade game is going to look better on the 2.0 blades until they're updated to use that additional hardware spec. So just because they have the higher blades out there doesn't mean games are going to work better or look better until the developers get back in there and issue a patch, which we don't have to download, which is the beautiful thing about Stadia.
While that's true, I also think that it would be a mistake for them. I always think it's a mistake for platform holders to say, this is a number that is important to you. What I think is a much better way is to just show us a game. Here's an amazing game. It's running on our hardware, and you can play it now. And that is the kind of thing. Like, instead of, like, they're saying, oh, if they did it after. So, like, Xbox and Sony launch theirs, or they tell everybody their specs, and then Google comes out and says, well, here's our specs for Stadia 2 or whatever they decide, well, for the next version of Stadia, which is going to be the same. I don't think that's a good argument. Here's what they do instead. They say, look at all these games. Damn it, Siri. They say, look at all these games that you can play on the Xbox Series X and the PS5. And then Google says, oh, by the way, here's one of those games, and you can play it for an hour right now today. Do that. Do that, and you will really pull the rug. I use this metaphor a lot, but you will pull the rug out from under Sony and Microsoft by saying, and you can try it right now without buying anything. That's the thing that they need to do, but they get focused on numbers and man, I've got all these K's floating around. It's just a waste of everybody's time. I think that that's a big mistake.
I think there's a large enough segment of the population that loves those numbers. Just like in a perfect world, we'd be reading game reviews and we'd be reading all the texts and we'd be coming up with our own idea of what this talented writer has formulated as his opinion or her opinion of this game. In reality, most people go to Metacritic and they look, oh, it's an 8. Okay, good. I love this game. I'm going to buy it because it's an 8. The ideology is different than reality in a lot of instances. And there's going to be enough people on Reddit that are comparing already. They're comparing the unknown specs of Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. We have leaked specs, but we don't know what the full official shipping, this is what it's going to be specs are. So there's always the people that take out the measuring tape and say, oh, this one has an extra 1/4 inch. It's got to be better. It's a little bit bigger. It's I don't know. There's no perfect solution for everybody, I guess.
You're not wrong at all. I just personally think that it's a mistake, but that's because I don't care about the numbers. I just care about the gameplay. And I know that I don't think I'm a smaller segment of the gaming population. I think I'm actually a larger segment. I'm part of a larger segment of the gaming population.
Sure.
But I'm part of that segment. Most of the people that I am part of that segment don't say anything on the internet about video games. They just want to sit down and play them. But and that's very important is that very loud group of people on the internet who are banging away on their keyboards saying that Stadia is dead. I think that while I understand that is a loud segment of the population, I think it's also a very small segment and a very, I don't know, immature segment.
100%. Yeah, all the flame wars that happen on Reddit or on Twitter, it's usually I don't know. I don't want to say kids because that's not true, but it's a vocal minority of people that maybe aren't as mature as other people, or they're playing the part because they enjoy stirring up garbage online.
Yeah, I ran into this same exact problem, and it's the people who like Stadia are not immune to this problem. There was all like GeForce Now came out, and of course people were like, it's the Stadia killer, blah blah blah. And then Bethesda and Activision, they said our games are no longer going to be available on GeForce Now. And then of course people would take screenshots of YouTubers saying, is this the end for Stadia? And then they were like, ha ha ha, look how wrong you are. And that's just a waste of everybody's time.
Right.
Don't point out that somebody was wrong about something. Don't gloat. I have to say this all the time when, like, I'll be at work. I'll have two students arguing about a question. Like I've given them work to do, and they're talking about it, and they're like, "Well, I think this is the answer, and I think this is the answer." And then they come up to me and they say, "Can you explain this to us?" And I explain it to them, and then invariably one kid will look at the other like, I told you. And I always have to say, stop gloating. It doesn't help anybody. Okay. And that's the same thing that happens with GeForce, with Stadia, with PlayStation, with Xbox, because people, for some reason, they feel like they need to make this brand some part of their identity. And I've said this a million times. I can drink Pepsi and you can drink Coke and we can still be friends. And there's nothing wrong with that.
100%. The Holy Wars online, and they're not online. They started in like the field at recess. Everyone is like, Nintendo's better, or Sega's better, WWF is better, no, WCW is better, Disney's better, no, DreamWorks is better. Like, there's always people that put their stake in the ground and say, I am a DreamWorks fan, and Shrek is the best cartoon ever made, and your Disney stuff is garbage. And it's like, at the end of the day, who cares? Enjoy what you want to enjoy, play what you want to play. There's a big enough market. I always go back to when I was looking for what my game of the year in like 2000 was, because I'd missed it on my list, and I've been tracking it forever because of all the podcasting I've been doing, right? And I went back and I looked at all the games that were released in like 1999 or whatever it was, and you could physically play every single game that came out in 1999 because there was a couple consoles and there was PC games. There wasn't phones. There wasn't 18 different ways to play games. You can't even play every game that comes out in a month now because there's Android games and iOS games and Stadia games and PlayStation games and Xbox games and PC games across Good Old Games and Epic Game Store and Steam, and released on the web, and stuff that is playable on the Twitch.io stuff, or the what is it? Not Twitch.io. I can't remember what the name of the website is, but it is impossible. It's impossible to play every single game that comes out. At one point in time, it was possible to play every single game that was released if you had an endless amount of money. So there is no reason to have like flag in the sand, this is my island and this is my hill and I'm going to die on it arguments anymore, because there is so much choice. You can play whatever you want, and your playtime in a year is way different than anybody else's playtime, just because there's a million games that are released now every year, where it used to be 100.
Yeah. And to all of the people who they are saying, well, first off, I want to respond to Darren Pogue in chat. He says, I don't trust people who drink Pepsi. I find their creepy eyes disturbing. That made me laugh a lot. I almost interrupted you with my guffaw. So that was a really funny thing, Darren. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's awesome. That made me laugh a lot. Just to be clear, I drink two things. I drink water and I drink tea. And that's it, because I used to have a problem with soft drinks. I used to drink around 7 sodas a day. And that was very, very bad for me. But there's a lot of people with Stadia who they look at it and it hasn't taken off instantaneously. And they're like, well, it's clearly a failure. And to those people, I say, do you remember when the Switch was getting ready to launch? The Joy-Cons look too small. There aren't any games. It won't be as powerful as Xbox and PlayStation. It only has 32 gigabytes of internal storage. That's a fail. Nintendo should just make a box that goes under the TV like the others. The Joy-Cons have motion controls. It's just a Wii clone. Nintendo should just make games for the other platforms. And if in 3 years later, over 52 million units sold and thousands of games on the platform, that tells a very, very different story from all of the people who were making those arguments that I just listed off. They were all extremely myopic views of the gaming industry. They look at what it is now and they say that that's how it has to be, which is why there's a lot of people out there who say Stadia will fail if I can't download my games and play them offline.
Yeah,
that's myopic.
People are afraid to change. JB, exactly, in the chat room. People don't like anything that upsets the apple cart that they're currently on. They're like, this is stupid, I hate it, just because it's different. I'm pretty wide open with my view of tech. I like all stuff. I was an Apple user at home just because I did PC support at work and I didn't want to deal with support things when you get home. PCs nowadays are just as good as an Apple computer. Windows 10 is great. So if I was a flag in the sand, PCs are stupid, I hate PCs, Mac is the best, all PC people are stupid, whoever plays PC games are idiots. Well, when the technology gets better, then I'm an idiot because I want to play on the thing that I said was stupid before. Like you never win if you come out and say that is stupid, because in the future you might want to be playing on that side. Just like all my friends growing up that is like, Nintendo sucks, Sega's the best, and then the like Super Nintendo came out, or the GameCube came out, or the N64 came out, or the Wii came out, and all of a sudden they're playing games on those consoles, and it's just like things change so frequently. There's no reason to get out there and have a holy war about one technology is better than the other.
I agree.
So it was posted in chat. The one thing that we forgot was you wanted to talk about interviews. That was one thing that you wanted to bring up.
Oh, that's right.
Did you want to bring it up in the post show?
Well, yeah, it might as well. So the interview with the Guilt team, who's the name of the company is escaping me for some reason.
Tequila Works. Thank
you. The interview with them, I have not heard back. So we were talking and I said, what about this week? Meaning the week that we're talking about now. And I said, yes. And I said, awesome. What days and time? I never heard back. So I don't know if maybe they just said, okay, this is too hard for us to schedule because they're over in Europe and we're here in the US, and Lloyd and I both have day jobs, which really interferes with when things can happen. So I don't know what to tell you about that. They said that we were going to be working with them, and then it seems like maybe the time zones were just getting to be in the way too much. And if I hear from them otherwise, I will of course let you guys know. The second thing, I don't know why I have this at my desk. It's a clothespin. I don't know why it's on my desk, but I just picked it up. The second thing is the John Justice interview. We're working on getting another interview with John Justice. I've been talking to his scheduler. Maybe that is going to happen, maybe not. It is very slow to communicate with them because they have so much stuff going on, and working out the schedule for somebody who is a vice president at Google is really, really a slow thing to happen. So please be patient. We're still working on that. We're in talks with them, and hopefully it will happen soon. And Lloyd said that he would even take the day off if he had to so that he could talk to John and people would stop wondering if they're the same person with a mask.
100%. And if anybody that's watching right now has a particular development team that you'd love to see an interview done on the show, reach out to them, tag us. Yes. We would love to talk with anybody. It's hard to cold call a development team and say, hey, we're Stadiacast, do you want to talk with us? And they're going to be like, who are you? Well, Stadia is so small, maybe they know who we are just because of the limited amount of outlets that are covering Stadia. But fans reaching out and saying, hey, makers of blah, we would love to see an interview with you on the Stadiacast, and we would love to interview them. But it just, making cold calls is never a fun thing.
It is not. It feels, you send it out and then 99% of the time you never hear back. The only reason that we got John Justice on our show was because Google reached out to us. They said, hey, we like your show, we want to be on it. And that was like, they cold called us, and I was so skeptical that it was a real thing until I saw his face. Like, I was like, there's no way that this is going to be them. Like, somebody spoofed me with an email address and it was like at google.com. I was like, it's not them, that's not real, I'm getting trolled. And then when the call came up and it was him, I was like, I recognized him because I'd seen him a bunch of times watching the stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is a guy from Google talking to me. So we have to, we just have to be patient. And it looks like Lloyd's camera was fixed. Didn't crash this week. Well, last week it only crashed because I was trying to send him a message on Discord.
Yeah, exactly. And your iPad took over. Yeah, no, they provided me with some fixes, which was basically turn off all the advanced things. So there was like new window capture, new audio, new video. I turn all that off on Discord and it doesn't crash, which is weird. So there must be some incompatibility with something in my computer, because a fresh install of Windows didn't fix that. But if it works, I'm fine with it. Everything else that I'm doing works. So yeah, nothing that I really have to worry about anymore.
All right. So Des Center says, question, I'm from Denmark. Is there a lot of hate towards Google in the US? All the negative videos is mostly from the US. Well, I would say it's a US company, so more people are going to be covering it in the US, and most of the negative videos are from gaming focused YouTubers, which tend to be in the US. So I think that's really the reason. And I don't think that it's a problem with people in the US hating on it. I think it's that it generates clicks, so a lot of people are hating on it to get clicks.
Exactly. Even in the Stadia world where people are releasing videos, there's a lot of kind of clickbait type text and things like that. It just, that's the way the US YouTube goes. A lot of people that cover the gaming industry in the US, they follow the same sort of I don't know, habits of titling your videos and the thumbnails and the things. Just there's ebbs and flows to the way that YouTube works, and it just seems like the hate on X company trend is still going on YouTube. Hopefully that ends soon, but yeah, Google is, or Stadia isn't immune to that. That's for sure.
Right, and it was funny because Lloyd sent me a picture of a thumbnail. He was like, "This is the thumbnail that we keep talking about," and it was like this guy standing there, and he was like, making a face at the screen, at the camera, and you know, it was like, "Is Stadia doomed?" or something like that. And it's like that same thumbnail. People keep clicking on those thumbnails, and Lloyd, I tell you right now, Lloyd and I could make a lot more money if we decided to start making those thumbnails and playing YouTube's game. But we don't do that because we just want to have an honest conversation about things.
Exactly. I've been doing this content creation stuff for almost 20 years now, and hate for the sake of clicks is never a good thing for me personally. I don't want to put out negative articles. I don't want to talk trash about people because it's exhausting, and it's bad for your health if that's what you're doing constantly. And also it's not fun to put negative stuff out into the world. I'd rather put awesome, fun things into the world so people can check it out. So I'm never going to play that game.
Right.
But a lot of people do.
I've run into the issue where I've been given a game by a publisher and I've played it, and I'm like, I am not making a video for this game because I don't have anything good to say about this game. And yes, that probably put me on a list someplace with PR people who said, look, this guy took a game, he didn't make a video about it. But I didn't want to just sit there and say, this game is a steaming pile of garbage and you shouldn't play it, because that's not fun for anybody. And yeah, somebody might say, Bill, you should do that so that you can warn people from playing that game. There's a lot of that content out there. The publisher probably doesn't actually want my opinion, because my opinion is this game is trash. But I don't like having that opinion and saying things like that. It just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I've had similar instances where I get a game and then I go back to the developer and I say, this game isn't good. Or I say it in a nicer way than that. It's like, I can't put out a video like this. That type of content doesn't really suit my channel. These are the issues I've had with your game. Are you planning a patch? Sometimes the developer comes back at me very angrily, and then I'm like, okay, I'm never working with this publisher again or this developer again. But more often than not, they'll come back and they'll say, oh yeah, we've had some issues with launch. We're planning a patch. Maybe check it out in the future. We would love to get your opinion when the patch comes out. A lot of developers are savvy that way, but there are some that are just they want to get all the videos out there on YouTube. They don't really care what the video says. They just want to have 18 videos on launch day or 50 videos on launch day with their name in it, so that people say, oh, everyone's talking about blah, I'm going to go buy blah, even though all the videos are like, this game is a steaming pile, you shouldn't ever play it. They just want that saturation on Twitter and on Twitch and on YouTube. So yeah, they're going about it the wrong way, and that's not going to work out for their company very well.
By the way, this is completely, this is not even a tangent. This is just a completely new road. Borderlands 3, I've been playing a lot of that this week, and since the patch, like there was hot fixes. Have you noticed how much better it is?
Yeah, it's not laggy almost at all. They fixed the issue with the Valentine's Day thing, and then the Valentine's Day thing went away. So I don't even know why they fixed it. But yeah, it plays buttery smooth now. I love it.
It's so good. I am almost level 50.
Nice.
I'm having a blast with that game, and
we need to do some Malawan when you hit max level.
Well, I don't have the DLC.
Malawan isn't part of the DLC. It's part of the game.
So what do you mean we have to do some Malawan? I know that's a gun manufacturer. What exactly does that mean?
So the Malawan quest, it's like this super high level battle arena that ends in an epic boss battle where you get you're almost guaranteed some really good legendaries when you beat the final boss. And there's a bunch of different final bosses. So
is it in the game already?
Yeah,
I mean, like, so I went through the story mode. Have I already done it?
No, It's something that is only unlocked when you get to max level. Poster appears in the ship, and then you go to that poster, and then you can join the Malawan expedition or whatever, and you're basically going to this big, huge battle arena. I haven't tried it solo because I hear it's almost impossible to beat solo, so I'm hoping to get some teams together once people hit max level, so we can do some Malawan runs.
So there you go, everybody. Use the LFG channel, looking for group, LFG channel in our Discord, runjumpstomp.com/Stadiacast, and put together a group. I saw someone trying yesterday, but nobody responded. I felt bad.
Yeah, I haven't played games in like 4 days because I've been laying in bed and just deathly ill. I'm feeling much better today, so might want to look into that maybe a little bit later today and see if anybody's playing some multiplayer, because I'd love to jump in.
All right. Well, Lloyd, I'm going to let you go get some more rest. Thank you very much for hanging out with me and being an awesome co-host. I will see you guys later. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with Lloyd and I. Lloyd, are you going to tell anybody anything that you're doing this week?
Content wise, no. I am going to a live recording of WWE Raw that is here in Winnipeg tomorrow. So if you're a wrestling fan and you watch Raw on TV, it's actually from Winnipeg. And I'm taking my kids. It is going to be the most fun, and I cannot wait for it. I know you're not a wrestling fan, Bill, but I love wrestling. It is adult soap operas. I absolutely love everything about it. And for them to be taping in Winnipeg for the first time in like 20 years is going to be just so much fun.
I would be lying if I didn't say that I judged you a little bit, but you know what? People like the things that they like, so I should just shut up, because who am I to say anything, you know?
I used to watch wrestling when I was a kid, and then when I got into like my early adult late teens, so when I was like 18, 19, I would still watch wrestling, and then I stopped, and then I only started again because WrestleMania 30 or whatever came, and it had all the old people. It had like all the people that I watched growing up, and I was like, oh, I got to get a copy of that DVD so that I can watch it. And my kids came down and they're like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's wrestling. And I look at this guy. He was the best when I was a kid. And look at this guy, and look at how crazy he is. Look at this guy. He has a bird. Why does he have a bird? I don't understand. This is so insane. And my kids are like, this is amazing. So I started watching wrestling with my son, getting into it. And then he's kind of went, I don't really care anymore. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. And then my daughter's like, but I still want to watch. And I'm like, what? You never told me you're into wrestling at all. And then for the past like 3 years, we watch every pay-per-view. We watch the odd live Raw or SmackDown. And it's just this cool thing that I do with my daughter. My son's joined in since then. So I'm going with her, him, and a buddy of mine. And we're just going to go and just be rowdy and watch like huge people smack each other around to tell a story. It really is a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I'm out of here. Lloyd, go hit somebody with a chair. Chat, thank you guys for being here with us. You guys are fantastic. Don't forget to hit the like button before you leave. All right, we got over 200 people in here and 81 likes. So there's a lot of you out there who are watching, but you haven't hit the like button yet, and it feels so good to do. We'll see you guys later.
Later, everybody.